Hey everybody, and welcome to our Monday night call. And we have my cousin Rochelle on here, our newest Emerald ambassador, and she was able to go to Hawaii with us this year. So she was in Maui, and I know that was probably one of her most favorite parts of hitting Emerald. She was really looking forward to going there, and we were so excited to have her. And I just want you guys to know that you might have people who start out in this business with you who just they're not all in at the beginning. Rochelle was interested in the products, and as you'll hear from her story, she thought the products didn't work at first. And then even after that, she wasn't somebody who, bam, hit Emerald, out of nowhere. You see people hit it in 2 or 3 months, and you're like, how in the heck did that happen? But she never gave up. She was encouraged by everyone's emails coming in, how many people were joining their teams, how fast they were growing, and she knew that someday that was going to be her. She had full belief that she could and would do this. She's a homeschooling mom of 7. Her husband was in the military. She was growing her business, I think, through 2 pregnancies, having 2 babies. So when people give me excuses of I just had a baby or I have this going on or that going on, Rochelle didn't make excuses. And that is why she's an Emerald today. So Rochelle, I am going to have you kind of get started sharing with us, the beginning of your journey. You started on the products, how did that all begin with your love for Plexus?
Well, so it all began by seeing you post about it, and I knew that you and I, of course, were cousins, but I knew your character and I knew your background and I knew that you were into all things healthy. And so I was like, I got to get in on this, But I flat out told you I did not want to work the business. I had no desire to work the business. I didn't have time to work the business. I had 5 kids at the time, and that was just not something that I thought I had time for. Even in the beginning, I didn't think I needed all the products. Back then, they didn't even have the triplex. They only had they did have all the products, but we didn't have the triplex combo. So when I first joined, the big welcome pack to get was the 4 bags of Slim. There was no triplex. And so I got my Slim, and Matt got the Slim with me. My mom got the Slim, and they both lost 10 pounds. And I didn't lose not 1 ounce. And so I didn't think the products were working at all. And I was already on other supplements. I was already on a probiotic. I was already on omegas. I was already on a multivitamin. So I didn't really think I needed all the other Plexus products. But then I just kept seeing Phallin posting more and more. I kept seeing Shoshana posting. I kept seeing other people more and more just watching. And when I had number 6, he ended up with a lot of red bumps all over his face. Y'all can read between the lines for compliance of what that was, but it was really bad. And I read a testimony somewhere of somebody that started taking the ProBio and the BioCleanse for their baby's face, and their baby's face looked really bad, just like my little guy, and they showed a before and after. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, I don't have anything to lose. Let me just try it. And so I tried it, got my probiotics in the mail, and within 10 days, his face was cleared up. And at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, these products, they really do work. What all this stuff that I've been reading about, it really is true. And obviously, my other probiotics weren't doing a darn thing. So I definitely had to jump right in. And at that point, I was like, Phallin, I need to get these products paid for. The whole family's going on, and what do I need to do?
Yeah, I didn't really understand what had happened. All I knew was Rochelle was always calling me, telling me that the products weren't doing anything for her. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. Surely they're doing something. My belief was so strong. I just thought, I just can't hear another word about this. And it turns out she went to the back of her closet and was wearing her skinnier jeans. So she had lost inches, but not pounds. This was at the very beginning of my journey, and I could have let it shut me down oh my gosh, the products aren't working for somebody else. But I knew that they had to be, and it turns out later on, that they were working just in a different way, and then they were helping her baby. So once her belief was solid for herself, then she wanted her whole family on the products. So I was constantly meeting her where she was at in her journey. I wasn't pushing her to do something she wasn't ready to do. She needed some sort of belief. If she was still doubting, and I was like, hey, let's start posting on Facebook to get your products paid for, like, she didn't want her products paid for. She wasn't even completely sold on the products yet. So she said she wanted them paid for, told her to start posting on Facebook. And that's how that started with the business.
Yep. And then Lori Welch did that 3-2-1 challenge. And I remember getting a message from you, this big long message about, did I want to do some challenge? And I'm like, a challenge? What is this? I don't even know. Okay, I'll do it with you. I had no idea what I was getting into. I don't think any of us did. And that was Tiffany, Cody, Brittany, all of us. We were all in the same one. And I tell you what, that was really awesome. And I did not want to get kicked out of some chat from Lori Welch, because she said that Jeff Welch was keeping track of everybody's names. And I was like, I got to do my stuff. It's like 11:30 at night. Let me finish messaging somebody. I'm over here, Phallin, what do I say to these people? But yeah, and thankfully I did measure myself in the beginning, because like Phallin said, I was going to the back of my closet getting stuff. It wasn't really in the back of my closet. It was just in my closet. I just wasn't paying attention to the fact that these pre-pregnancy clothes were fitting me until I was looking back at some pictures, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these clothes are fitting me. And then I went and measured myself, and sure enough, I had lost 8 inches, even though the scale never went down, not one bit. So that's why I always tell people when they are looking at the scale, I'm like, don't look at the scale. It doesn't matter what the scale says. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And Rochelle, I would always joke that she was my lunch break call. It never failed. She would call when it was time for lunch, and she's a Blue, so we would talk for a long time. So I would get my sandwich, and we would sit there and we would do what I found out were coaching calls. I didn't know what we were doing. I just knew she had a lot of questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, Rochelle, I think she's working the business. She just wanted her products paid for, but it's like she's actually enjoying what she's doing over here, and she's messaging people like crazy. And I felt like, to me, and you can just tell me what was going on in your mind, but like you were just addicted to helping people. Like you just loved what you were doing. Like it was fun for you.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was amazing. And I was really, I really didn't feel like I had that much of my own testimony, because it was like, oh, I've lost 8 inches. Big whoop-de-doo. I got like Tiffany over here with her big fat testimony and stuff. And so I remember just using your mom, my aunt. She doesn't have migraines anymore. She's had migraines for 30-something years, and now she doesn't have any. And so I would use other people's testimonies. And I couldn't not help. I mean, because I didn't have migraines. I don't have diabetes. I don't have all these other things, but so many people do. And to just share with these people, and you never know what people have. I mean, these people are telling me this stuff in private messages of what they have, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was definitely loving helping everybody, and I was getting a big fat prayer list at the same time.
I love it. So what was going through your mind as other people were ranking up, and maybe you weren't ranking up as fast as they were? Did you have anything that you were thinking, or things that crossed your mind?
I mean, I was just happy for them. Like you said in the beginning, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I just would always remember that anybody can be a diamond. You just don't quit. And I just remembered that. And it was like, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing, and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I mean, I was continuing to help people anyways. And I was just going up the rank. I may not have been going up as fast as other people, but it didn't really bother me. I wasn't like, dang it, these people are getting promoted and I'm not. I was just always really super excited for them. And I was just ready for my promotion announcements to be coming, you know?
Mm-hmm. I love that. You are always, and you still are, of course, but always so happy for everyone, and never discouraged or frustrated, just always happy. I remember one negative coaching call right before your period, and I knew something was going on. Like, oh, this poor thing.
I think it was right before I was getting I had found out I was pregnant or something. It was crazy. I know.
There's something to do with periods of pregnancy, but I was like, it's going to be okay. And the next day where you were fine, but always happy, always positive, and always coachable. Rochelle listened to everything I told her. If I told her to start these 3-way chats, she was in the 3-way chats. If I said use the 3-way chats for all of your conversation, all of Rochelle's conversations were in the 3-way chats, and they still are. All her voice messages, if y'all are on her team, you know, we're just teasing her.
You love my voice messages. Don't try it.
But as a busy mom to seven, you didn't make excuses. You found a way and you made it work. Um, so I remember there was a shift in your business, and it was a really obvious shift for me. On coaching calls, we look for things that can help someone improve their business. And there wasn't a lot, but I remember Rochelle would say, like, I don't have time. I don't have time. I tell her something to do, and she'd do it, but then she's like, I don't have time. I just don't have time. And can you tell us a little bit about that mindset shift, is what I call it, just a mindset shift?
Yeah, it was definitely a mindset shift. And thankfully you pointed it out to me because I did not have any clue I was doing it. But yeah, I would do that all the time. I would say that to myself. And so my ears were hearing this and my mind was hearing this. I don't have time. I don't have time. I would say it all the time to the kids. I don't have time for this. Get out the door. I don't care if you got your shoes on. I don't have time for this. Just everything. It was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this done. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this all the time. And I specifically remember when you told me that I needed to stop saying that. I was driving down the road and we were having a coaching call and you were like, you need to stop saying that you don't have time. I'm just telling you, you need to stop saying that. And I'm like, okay, I had no idea I was even saying it. And so at that point, I really every time I would say it, I would hear your voice and it was like, okay, I need to stop saying that. And so I would still say it a few times here and there. And then I'd be like, I got to stop saying that. And eventually it got to where I stopped saying that and I would say other things, but I would not say that phrase. And it really does make a huge difference when you're not telling yourself negative things. That is a negative statement. I don't have time is a negative statement. We need to stop telling ourselves that because we do have time. We have time for what we want to have time for. And we all have 24 hours in a day. And yes, we have 7 kids, we homeschool, and it can get crazy around here. But that doesn't mean that I don't have time. I do have time. And so you just have to choose your time wisely. There are things that I don't do now. I don't do my gardening right now. I like to do gardening. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not very good at it. Matt's better at it, but but I'm not doing all this other stuff right now. I love scrapbooking. Yeah, scrapbooking is not happening right now. with 7 kids, it's not going to happen anyways. I mean, there are things that you have to sacrifice, plexus or not. Even when you have your own kids, you're not getting as much sleep at night or whatever. So yeah. I think I was going off on a tangent a little bit, but yes, you don't want to tell yourself negative things. And that was the thing, was my mindset changed when you pointed that out to me, to stop saying that. And then I could point that out to other people too. And they would say things like that. It's like, yes, we do. We all have time.
Mm-hmm. We all have time for what's important. And plexus was a priority for you. So you enjoyed it, you loved doing it, and you made time for it, even with your busy, crazy busy life. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit like what your day looked like as you were growing your business? What did your day as a silver look like? And then maybe as a ruby, how things changed, and just kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I was a silver, gosh, that was so long ago. That was 2 years ago. I mean, I always would get up and do my prayer time and my exercising time. When it shifted, and I was always making sure that I was getting my bare minimum 2 new contacts and at least my 1 follow-up. I would always try to do more, but that was the bare minimum that I would always try to do. And then my 3 posts. When I first started, oh, Lord have mercy, I spent way too much time on figuring out what to post and who to contact and what to say. And I didn't know about a Frank's list. I mean, back then we didn't know about 3-way chats. We didn't know about coaching calls. We didn't know about Frank's lists. We didn't know about any of this stuff. So I was just kind of winging it, I guess, along the way. And I remember, I mean, when Matt was in the Army, he's still in the Army officially. He retires on the 1st, but he would call on the phone on his way home from work, because that's the only time you can talk, is when you're on the phone, when you have all these kids. And I remember it would be so negative a lot of the time. It would be like, oh my gosh, I just can't get everything done. These kids, either I get my exercising done and my devotions done, and then dinner doesn't get made, or I get my devotions done and my exercising done and dinner gets made, but homeschooling doesn't get done right. And there was always something, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, this is just crazy. And so when you had said that about stop telling yourself that, and then you shortly after that, I don't really remember the time, it was whenever we did the first 21 Irrefutable Laws. That was the first book club that we did. And you said, okay, we're doing a book club and you're doing it with me. That was what you told me. And I was like, oh,